Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And I've got an awesome guest with Todd Park Mohr from Big Head Todd and the Monsters. And he doesn't know this, but I've been trying to get him on the show for like 5 years, but he's totally off the grid. So I want to thank the lovely and talented Patty DeVries for hooking us up. This is a very pleasant surprise, man. Also, because I know inquiring minds want to know, he does not have a big head. He's just a very large Asian man, but his head is totally normal size. All right, let me give you cliff notes on Todd, then we'll get into this. Todd's been the lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist of Big Head Todd and the Monsters since he co-founded the band in 1986. All these years later, and this is a freaking miracle, the band is still together with the same members, having added a keyboard and utility player in 2003. These guys all went to high school and college together, and they began touring regionally while attending University of Colorado, which is where they're all from. The band's released 13 studio and 6 live albums, and Todd just told me there's a new release coming out in June. A couple of singles are out. Crush is one, and the other one's called Her Way Out, so please check those out. And the band's toured consistently since '86. They've played over 3,500 shows, 33 of them at their hometown venue of Red Rocks. Todd, thanks so much for your time, man. It's really a pleasure to hang with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh,
really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Was there a particular experience that was critical to you becoming a musician?
My folks had musical instruments around the house. My dad had a guitar, like a Gibson LG, and
oh, wow.
Which is a pretty nice guitar for a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And we had a piano. My mom was really fond of the piano, but neither of them had any really formal musical training or, ongoing serious interest, but I loved plunking around on them. And when I was about 13, I started to become involved in music in a different way, even though I was in elementary school music and all that, because I discovered a Ray Charles album at a garage sale. It's called The Genius of Ray Charles.
Yeah, that's a great record, man.
And it was a combination, I believe, of live tracks and some of his classics, but it really just, there's no way that I would ever aspired to be that, but that was what I wanted to be. I knew that at the time. And then it sort of led me into this wormhole of R&B and blues music. Aretha Franklin Live at the Fillmore West was an album that I found a little bit after that and sort of changed my life and just sort of put me on that course. And Wilson Pickett, and then, all the blues, Albert King and B.B. King and Freddie King. And I just fell in love with all of that. And about the same time, started to learn how to play guitar a little bit and met my bandmates in high school. And we started to play together a little bit, and that was that.
That's really cool. It's funny how that was the guys like one generation above you and I, they watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, right? Mm-hmm. But it's funny how you stumbled across this one little thing, and that, like, I'm always marveled that changed the course of your whole life. You got a record.
Sure.
It's pretty, I just find that amazing, man.
It is amazing. And that's why everything's so important, with, as far as culture goes. You never know, or, an act of kindness, or even, a small thing like that. Small things change the world.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. I agree with you 100%. So early on, the band starts getting gigs and getting a following. What were some of those challenges once you guys knew, okay, we're a band?
Well, I didn't think we looked at them as challenges, because when you're kids and you're in your first band, you just look at everything like as an adventure, and it really was. I mean, keeping a van running and keeping it going up a snowy hill, stuff like that, just the basics of getting from A to B, and the bizarre nature of, dealing with clubs that would hire a no-name band on a Tuesday night. You're in shady land already. There's a lot of funny stories about that.
Tell me one of them. Tell me one that comes to mind.
Well, one of the most dramatic ones was we went all the way to Evergreen and played like 4 grueling sets for 6 people. It was sort of a wedding-ish thing.
Oh,
and
how far is that?
And
from
we
you?
got stiffed. They didn't pay us.
No.
And there was another time that was like
God.
that. And I don't think we got stiffed that time, but you know, stuff like that, like where
How far was that
car
from
accidents.
You? Oh my God.
The huge.
Wow.
But everybody has them. You have those stories too.
Yeah, everybody has stories in their life like that. Did you get like a first break? What was like the first break you guys got that really sort of like said, okay, this is really important to us?
Well, the first thing that happened as far as a professional event was we were signed to a manager named Chuck Morris, and he and his partner Mark Bleasner at the time, they managed Lyle Lovett and a couple other people like that. Leo Kotke.
Oh wow!
Chuck's managed him his whole life until last year, I think. But anyways, they were big in music in Colorado, and there wasn't much of original music there at the time. So them signing us meant, you know, that a new door was opening for us professionally, and that was a moment where you kind of go, well, maybe I'm not going to finish my degree and you know, continue my job at the bank or whatever.
Right. Did how did you want to get hooked up with a manager?
They approached us. We had already some success. People were coming to our shows, and we had kind of a name as a Denver band, original band, and so they came to a show and they said, we want to work with you no matter what, and we haggled over it for about a year, and then finally we ended up having a great relationship with them that led to our first signing with Irving Azoff.
That's awesome, man. So your first show at Red Rocks that you guys did was in '91, and it was a blues festival with B.B. King and Albert Collins were there. I was curious what that experience was like, and did you maybe get any takeaways from working with those guys? I mean, as a blues fan, I couldn't imagine how.
Yeah, that's like the day I was born.
Yeah.
I was made that day. You know, Albert Collins invited me to jam with him in his set. And he was, I don't think he was last. I think B.B. King was last, or maybe he was last on that day. It was a 2-day fest, I think. But so that was my first time I sat in with anybody.
Really?
And I could barely play. I can still barely play, but I could go like this, you know, really fast. And you know, he was surprised by me, and it was just an incredible moment. We kind of became friends. I can't believe, you know, just the warmth and regard that he had for me. It was, you know, I miss him.
Yeah,
he was amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that was the Staples were on the stage at the same time.
Oh,
all of them. And that's the first time I kind of got on a big stage. So that was amazing.
You know, I had, you mentioned Albert. I had Kenny Neal on the show a while back, and he told me he ran into Albert at a festival, very same thing. And he was like, you know, awestruck. And he said we invited him into his bus. He said he was one of the nicest people in the music business he'd ever met. It was just a real sweet guy.
True fact.
Very cool.
You just wouldn't believe, like, you'd just be questioning yourself the whole time. Like, why is this guy being nice to me? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know me, but he was that kind of guy.
That's wonderful.
And I know other people. I'm friend with Ronnie Baker Brooks, you know, Lonnie Brooks' son.
Sure.
And same thing with him. Like, Albert made him, and he thinks of Albert as his dad. He really does.
That's really nice. You know, some people are just like that. They exude this like kindness, and you're just like humbled in their presence, sort of. It's pretty cool, you know?
It is.
Okay. You also open for Robert Plant, which is like nuts. How did that gig wind up happening? And same question before, what was that experience like, and any takeaways?
Well, the neat thing was our career was on the way up, and it was just after Sister Sweetly, and we'd had, a really big album, Sister Sweetly. So we were a big new band, and they, Robert, that was during his Fate of Nations solo era of his career, and so they were looking for a young band in America because they felt old, and people were telling us, "Don't take that gig because they're too old." I'm like,
Oh
you're
my
kidding
God.
me. This is
Yeah.
Robert effing Plant.
Right.
And
right.
So obviously we took it, and it was one of the more important things that we'd ever done, just psychologically and musically, because we were able to be a part of their show for a couple months. I mean, it was their whole American tour at that time. And it was just unbelievable to watch his show go up and down every night because of the precision and the depth of knowledge that, their crew brought. And the whole thing was just, we'd never imagined something could be that good. And it really was that good. Jason Bonham was playing the drums, and
Oh, wow.
it was just incredible. So, and then hanging with Robert Plant.
What was that? Like, that
Well,
had to be
he's
like
a
surreal,
10-year-old
right?
kid.
Is he?
He's just like a kid, and he wasn't drinking at the time, and so he was just very, very chummy and really funny all the time, and it was a really magic couple months for our band, for sure.
Yeah. Was it surreal the first time you met him? Like, you're sitting there like, this is Robert fucking Plant.
Yeah, you're just. It's sort of like being under anesthesia because you just don't believe it.
Yeah, I get that, man. Really cool. Hey, from a songwriting standpoint, you are like incredibly prolific. You've recorded hundreds of your songs, which means you've probably written well over 1,000 songs along the way. I was curious, how'd you first get into songwriting, and how'd you get good at it?
Well, I guess my answer to that would start with words, because I was an English major, and I came from a background of kind of philosophy and theology and English poetry, and English poetry and English writers really caught me, and I wanted to do that, and I was fixing on being an English teacher because there's no way anybody succeeds as a poet or whatever. That's ridiculous. And so that's how I think I came to writing songs, was sort of with that intention of, well, I have this background in poetry, and I memorized a lot of it. And I just saw, well, I started writing songs from poems, like the song Flanders Fields was written by John McCrae. I wrote a chorus to it. And so I started doing that kind of thing and people would be like, I'll tell you a funny story while we're there. You can edit it out if it's boring.
Yeah.
But one of the very first songs that I wrote, because I saw your question, so it sort of prodded me to thinking about it. And it was a kind of a song that was heavily influenced by Muddy Waters' Mojo Working, that, and I had the same chorus because I love, got my mojo working. But I just heard it one time and I didn't know where it came from, or I couldn't find it again or something like that. So I decided to write verses to it.
Okay.
And I wrote these killing verses and brought them to the band, and they're like, no, this isn't it. This is another song, buddy. This isn't your song. So that's how you start, though, is sort of my point. Nothing is yours.
Right.
None of it is yours. Just forget about it. It's music. It's out. It just is. And so we all borrow. And it's the way that we borrow and integrate that. And, that's how people create. Nobody creates out of a vacuum. That's ridiculous. So I'm a big on the side of like Creative Commons and stuff like that. Like, as far as copyright goes, I don't like a lot of the I'd like to get credit for what I write, but I'm fine with anybody using it however they want. Sort of how I feel
interesting.
about it.
Okay. Interesting. So basically it was your love of words that got you into writing songs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So my first real songwriter heroes are Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen.
Hey guys, this is a new project I'm involved with, so check it out if it sounds interesting to you and let me know what you think. Attention musicians, composers, artists, and songwriters. If you have a burning desire to get involved with the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing and take your income to the next level, then you must listen to this. A new free training video has just been released, which shows you how to make your first placement in music licensing, or if you've already made some placements, but you don't have a specific system to make more placements more consistently, you'll learn how to do this as well. This free video training is called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business in 2023, and you can find it online at musicreboot.com. This video shows you how to create the financial stability you've always wanted and how to take advantage of the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing due to streaming and the internet. So check it out online now at musicreboot.com. It's funny, I never got
And the Beatles.
Yeah, of course. I never got the appeal of Dylan until I was much older and I started listening to the words, and then I was like, oh, now I get it. The guy's a genius,
Yes.
Hey, I want to talk about some of my favorite Big Head Todd songs, and I'll start with Broken Hearted Savior from Sister Sweetly. And I'm going to preface that with an apology because I know you've been asked about this song like 1,000 times. But it's one of those songs, for me anyway, as soon as you hear those opening notes, which is like GGD, I think, or something like that, right? It like I don't know what it is. You hear 3 notes and it's like, you immediately got to stop and just become consumed with that track. And I just find the song so compelling in so many ways. And I just had 2 questions on that track. What is the genesis of that track? How did it come about? That's the first one.
Well, musically, it just sort of, I just sort of heard it. Like what you're talking about, the beginning, dun, 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 dun. Like I heard that. And then from there, I was on a road trip. I didn't have access to my instrument or anything like that when I came up with that song. So I sort of had to come back home and learn how to play what I'd already written.
Yeah.
That happened to me a few times.
So you just heard it's amazing. I have heard this so many times where like someone will say, well, this track was just downloaded to me from, the universe or from their higher power, whatever they believe, and it's just amazing to hear that. Did you expect it to be so well received after you guys recorded it? Like, did you know, hey, I think we might have something with this?
Yeah, no, I don't understand it. I still don't. I mean, it's really basic, and there's.
Yes.
I always am like scratching my head about it because, my mom could play it. It's so easy, and so I don't get it. But
right.
there is something else to it, obviously, or else you wouldn't like it.
Oh, it's like from the first time I heard it, like 30 years ago or something like that. I was just like, wow. And every time I've heard it, and I'm not just like blowing smoke. It's just, I don't know. It's a piece of great art, I guess, is like what it is.
You're sweet. That's what it's about. Thank you.
Well, it's great. Off a Beautiful World, you have a track called If You Can't Slow Down. Beautiful slow blues in B minor, and Hazel Miller's on vocals there. What's the backstory to that track? And I know you got, your heart was, music bloomed in your heart through the blues. So I got to believe that's a special, when you get to write and play those things, it's pretty special to you.
Yeah, especially with Hazel. I mean, she's an incredible talent and just a great soul and soulful voice. So it was nice to have a song that we could do as a duet. I don't know when I wrote it if I thought about it that way, but right when we were in the studio recording it, it was clear that we wanted to do that. So we're so happy it worked out that way. I love the song. It's sort of like a Sam and Dave ballad, or an old soul-ish ballad, and that's the stuff that lights up my brain. So, and it has a lot of fun instrumental. It's fun to jam to.
Oh, it's a great track, man. Healing Train from Archives Volume 1. I love this track, and I haven't seen you in concert yet.
Yeah,
but
I don't love the track.
You don't?
No, I've never performed it ever.
Okay,
and
really?
I always just sort of thought of it as like, oh, no. And we put it out on something because we had all these extra things that were burning a hole. And you're one of like 4 or 5 people that's mentioned that track.
Oh, it's so cool.
Maybe I'll listen to it and see what I think after all these years.
But to me, it seems like one of those tracks where like, okay, this is the jam part of the show. We're going to go off on here. It just seems like so cool. Perfect for that. Yeah, I love
People that I respect musically have told me the same. So,
oh, dude.
You know, sometimes when you do things when you're really young, you're just like, you know what I mean?
I have enough memories like that myself. Trust me, I get it. I was curious, what's the story behind this lyric? Only a broken heart can drive this train, if you even remember.
Well, you know, I was reading a guy, his name's Miguel Unamuno. He's a Spanish philosopher. He wrote a book called The Tragic Sense of Life. And he ended up having a weird death by asphyxiation or something, like he got too close to the fireplace or something. But he was a brilliant philosopher. And anyways, he sort of has that sort of thing running, and that sort of inspired that.
So you're in that mode when you wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then New World Horizon from New World Horizon. To me, like that's a song I could see people like marching to and rallying in concert. Don't tell me you haven't played that one either.
No, I love playing that song.
Yeah,
our band loves playing it.
That's a great track.
And I'll tell you an interesting story about that song, which is that the blueprint for it comes from a Charlie Patton recording. I don't know if you know who Charlie Patton is, but he was one of the original, the very first recorded blues artist on Paramount Records in the 20s.
I did not know that.
20s and 30s and 40s. He died in the 40s, and John Fogerty paid for his gravestone kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
But you got to check out his music. And Bob Dylan's heavily influenced by Charlie Patton. So anyways, he's got a song called Jesus is My Dying Bedmaker. Most of the songs from this period are about death. So many of them are. Because there's such death and heartache, like real awful things that people were going through that were writing about it. And anyways, so I was kind of like, man, that's an incredible just melody and song. And I just wrote another song to it. You know, I reincorporated a lot of ideas from that song and wrote a serious spiritual song, I think, in contemporary language.
Well, I got the feeling that the song had 2 meanings. One is that like a new world arising around us, but also our own world with our own individual actions. I don't know if I'm close or completely off.
Well, sure, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Our individuals, you know, what goes on in one psyche happens to all of us corporately all the time. We all have the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
And conflict is that problem, really, being stuck in it. But anyways, yeah, that song is sort of like that. You know, there is a new world horizon, but the old world will fight you till you die and day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how we live.
Yeah.
It's a battlefield. And I just like that idea of being sort of the song is about to me, is sort of being stuck in that battlefield. Like, this is just how it always is. There's revolution and people are upset and they're going for something new, and, you know.
Yeah. and that Charlie Patton song is called Jesus is My Dying Bedmaker?
Yes.
What a title.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I know.
Do you have a favorite song you've written?
Yeah, I have a really hard time thinking about that. I really love what I've written recently, our new release. I love, love, love. And I will say part of it is because I feel like I've gotten better as a writer. I've acquired skills and I've learned how to employ them. And I really think that, we've taken a lot of time to write it and we're really proud of it. So
That's
I'll
awesome.
leave that for future discovery. But past, I like Secret Mission, a song of mine called Secret Mission a lot. And a song called Tower I like from Beautiful World. I have like little bits and pieces that are all over my career that I like a lot. And they're probably, they're not the hits. So for different reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
But obviously, Bittersweet, It's All Right, Circle, like all the stuff that is has been strong for the band, I still enjoy playing it. And
Right.
I'm really, there's a joy about it that we still have with that stuff.
So when you're getting ready to play, Broken Hearted Savior, it's not, holy shit, we got to do this again. It's like, yeah, let's do this again. Yeah. Right. Right. Cool. Because I would imagine that's hard after, you got to have some nights, not just you, any musician's got to have some night. Leslie West, I'm sure at some point said, oh, fuck, not Mississippi Queen again,
I had my hard years early.
Yeah.
Psychologically. Like when little Steven had to quit the E Street Band, there's a period in the 90s where he just really struggled with it, and I had that feeling for years, like just a great personal difficulty being on stage and feeling comfortable in my own skin. And, I made many self-destructive mistakes during that time.
I think I certainly done tons of that, to be honest with you. Are you basically an introvert? Is that why it was hard for you to feel comfortable there, or or is it imposter syndrome, or?
Yeah, I would say imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
especially when you love blues and soul music. I mean, I came from an half Asian family in Littleton, Colorado. I had no, claim to blues heritage or anything like that.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I don't, and I still don't feel like I had the same level of skills that celebrated people had at the time.
Right.
Like Stevie Ray. Like Stevie Ray is just so perfect. And
you're comparing yourself
so
to like the God at the top. You're like, I'm not.
Well,
as
that's
good
what
as...
I'm saying. But I mean, but we can get to Stevie Ray land now. Like,
right.
But there's guys that are like way out there, so much incredibly better. But that's a whole nother discussion. But I love talking about guitars and learning about stuff, and YouTube. That's incredible instruction.
Phenomenal.
All the guys, all the cats on YouTube.
Yeah,
I watch all of
amazing.
Them. They are.
What is your thoughts on and I'm not looking for gossip, or I'm not asking you to say this guy's good or that guy's not good, but what's your thoughts in general on a lot of the guys that are on YouTube? They've never played a gig, and it's hard for me. I don't know. It's an involved thing. For me, because I'm thinking work ethic. Does it mean they don't have a good work ethic? No, not necessarily, because you look at them and they've been shredding their ass off. So it's clear it's not work, but it always seems weird when you have people are celebrated now, in social media, it becomes a currency to some extent. And it's just weird to see, Gary Moore, there are bands out there that never had that opportunity that I'd rather hear, to be honest with you.
It's a different skill set.
Yeah.
It's really amazing because, I sit at home a lot playing guitar like you do. And I think I'm pretty good. But then when I get on stage with my band, it's a different thing.
You are pretty good.
Really
Todd,
is.
Actually.
But you know what I'm saying? It really, so I would say that they're different. I like these guys.
Yeah.
All of them I've seen that are incredible. And I love, watching the virtuosity and putting the techniques together and the knowledge of the fretboard and all that demonstrated to me. That's really valuable. And so I'm a fan of those guys, even though they're not in bands.
Yeah.
And I hope they get in bands.
I hope they do. Yeah, because it's like
and have careers. Which is hard for these guys that are really, really goddamn good, like Joe Bonamassa or Eric Gales. Eric Gales is one of those phenomenal. Everybody knows how goddamn good he is.
Yeah.
But it's hard for him to pay the rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not getting the kind of money but at the same time, what is it that people,
right.
you know what I mean? Johnny Cash can't play one note, but he just kills. You know what I'm saying? Why?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know it's a big mystery, and it's a big conversation I have with a lot of guys, more off the air more so, but yeah, it is. It's a mystery. By the way, I had Eric on here. He's like one of the funniest. I'm sure you've met with him and played with him.
Yeah.
Right?
A few times.
He's pretty funny, that guy.
Yeah.
Tell me
he's
that.
A bad boy.
Oh, he's phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal player. Top 3 musical experiences you've had.
Well, we've talked about a few of them. The Robert Plant one for sure. I did 2 projects that were blues projects, and one of them was with Robert, celebrating Robert Johnson, and the other one was, excuse me, I'm going to start with the Robert Johnson one for a second, which got me our band sort of with other blues artists. B.B. King was one of them, Charlie Musselwhite,
Wow.
David Honeyboy Edwards, who was 95 at the time, the Hubert Sumlin.
Yeah.
And I was a young kid. We were sort of brought into something because we were pop and we were kids, and people would pay to see us in a performing arts center with blues artists in our band. And so, I mean, I got to be on a bus with Hubert Sumlin and David Honeyboy Edwards and Charlie Musselwhite, for a couple months. That is an incredible, glorious education in blues. And the same happened with our second blues project. And I was with, Ronnie Baker Brooks. And it's going to take me a second. My brain is...
Oh, don't get me started, man.
At this hour.
Every time that happens to me, I'm like, holy shit, am I getting dementia?
I know.
It's terrible.
When you start checking yourself, then you're in trouble. So we might need to move on. But the blues things were huge for us, even though I don't know how successful they were musically in the bigger picture of our career, but as an education. And one of the things that Luther from Mississippi All-Stars told me, Luther Dickinson, is like, blues is the kind of thing that you have to learn it flesh and blood you have to learn it that way. You can't just listen to it and cop it. And there is some real truth in that. And because it's not about the scales, or there's just something that is learned from that, passing it down. That's so important,
Yeah.
And so anyways, that absolutely. So those 2 things. And then, I guess the big thing for me that I would say thirdly, and maybe firstly, is my band, the guys in my band, and just having them as partners musically, and the respect that we have for each other, and what we're able to do happily, together. That's something that's been really allowed everything else to take place.
Thank you. So you guys still tour and have always toured pretty consistently. And from what I read, you're selling more tickets now than ever before. And I was curious, if you have anything to attribute it to, what would you attribute it to if you even had an idea?
Yeah, we used to say that, still being in the business is the next is the next success.
Yeah.
I'm missing the word. You know what I'm saying?
I remember
you're really crushing it if you're still here. So
yeah, you said achieving. I heard in your interviews. You said staying mediocre is something like that. Mediocrity is like something along those lines.
Yeah, I was quoting. That's a quote that I have fun with from George Thorogood. He says this thing. Right. It's hysterical about his career that you had to scratch and claw your way to the middle.
Yeah, right. Scratch and claw your way to the middle. That was great. Yeah,
but I think a lot of it has been what I want to hope for is that it's the quality of the material, that the songs connect with people on a personal level. And we have people say that this is my favorite song or that's my favorite song. That's amazing. If somebody's going to come back for a return listen, I'm impressed. But if you're going to tell me that you listen to it a lot or it's your favorite, you've listened to a lot of music. And so that's a great honor. And so I want to think that that's why people are paying to come see us play.
Awesome. Tell me something that you thought would be difficult to do, but in reality, it turned out to be much easier to do.
Seems like everything's difficult. Everything's hard.
Tell me, that's funny. Tell me, what were some low points or dark periods you've had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
Well, I've been divorced twice.
Yeah,
that's the hardest thing that I've ever been through.
Yeah,
I've lost my parents, both of them, to cancer, but divorce is absolutely the hardest thing.
Yeah,
because just it's a matter of the heart, and it hurts like hell. Everybody knows. I think everybody's been through this sort of thing.
I was divorced. I got married real young. Yeah, and because there's no manual. It's and like. Well, like getting together is more of a natural thing, but ungetting together is not natural, especially if there's kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really tough, man.
Yeah, we're poorly equipped. There's other nations that do it better than us, that can deal with the stuff. I mean, we're just a little bit adolescent.
Yeah, I would say. No, it's just, when I don't have a lot of younger people on the show just because of the nature of the questions. But when I get young kids from Europe, totally different maturity level. Yeah. Like I had Matteo on the show, and he's, I can't think of his last name now. I'm going to brain fart, but he's like 22 or something. And it was like talking to a 40-year-old here in the States. Super mature. And so I think in other countries, the maturity levels just
they know how to be friends when it's over.
Yeah, man.
There are cultures that are that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do it, but I admire it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a lot easier. I'm
curious about it,
Yeah. Todd, what are some actions you took that as you look back over your career, you would attribute your success to these particular actions, if anything, in specific?
Well, I guess the action is being in the band every day, working that. There was a critical moment in my career where my biggest song, which was Bittersweet, at one point that was the number one song at rock radio at the time. And videos were breaking bands. And I refused to do a video for that song.
Why is that?
I had fights with everybody from the top of Warner Brothers to the label head of my label and my managers and promoters calling me and it was because I was on this silly kind of artistic fit kick. Let's call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, what I told the guy from Warner Brothers who called me to ask me to do the video, I said, there's a writer wrote a book called 100 Years of Solitude, and Anthony Quinn offered the guy $1 million. Marquez is his name, for the rights to make the film. And Marquez told him no. He said, I want my work to only live in the imaginations of the readers. You know what I mean? And I really felt like videos were ruining everything. That just sort of like, I'd be a one-hit wonder if I did that video. There's just something inside of me. I just couldn't do the right thing. I still regret it. It was absolutely the wrong thing.
To not make the video for that song. It's a beautiful song too.
But if we would have had that kind of level of massive success early on, we would have not been around now.
Yeah. Well, you don't know anything like
Yeah. But that could have been the thing that kept my band alive. Right. Ironically. Because I don't know if I could have handled it. You know,
sure. Being that young.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it. Yeah. When you look back at your maturity level and your decision making, your coping skills at 30 versus 20 years later, 25 years later, it's dramatic. Hopefully it's dramatically different.
I feel sorry for these guys, athletes and young celebrities that haven't had the chance to learn how to be happy yet or know who they are, and suddenly have just tons of success, tons of notoriety, and but you don't have it here. Like, you don't believe it yourself.
Right.
You're in trouble, man.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I think when people say you have regrets, I think if you're happy today, just me personally, you really can't have regrets because you don't know, we all made mistakes we wish we didn't do and behave in certain ways. But I think to regret it, if you're happy today, you don't know, like you may not be here. You may have made the wrong turn on the expressway or something, Right.
That's joy. I call that joy.
Yeah.
Joy, when joy recognizes that everything has to be this way. When your child is born, you see that clearly. There's no other way this could be. Every accident in my life led to this moment, and this moment is it. That's joy.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a big proponent of that. Let's talk about gear for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Your guitar sound, as much as you don't like your guitar sound, I think it's fantastic.
I like it now, sir.
Okay, good.
I like what I'm doing now.
It's fantastic. It's always been very stratty, for lack of a better term. What is your go-to guitar right now, and what others would round out your top three?
This is my go-to.
All right.
It's called the Troposphere Strat. It's a 1956 custom shop Strat, but that is just unbelievable instrument.
Troposphere, what is that? What do they call that?
Because that's the height of the heights is what the marketing of it was, But very meticulously wound 1956 pickups with the form bar wire and all that kind of stuff. But, Jump Massa gave me a lot of clues about instruments and, the hardtail and this period and maple necks. So I just have that one. And then 55 Telecaster. Right. Same thing. Maple neck, as big as I can get it. Like it's like almost 1 inch here.
Oh, well, you're tall. You're a big guy, aren't you? I mean, you're tall.
But I don't have big hands. But you'd be surprised. Sometimes big necks can make you feel more support your playing. Like there are guys that have, bond with a bigger neck, and I've sort of gone in and out. I've really had a long journey discovering myself with instruments. I've gone through so many instruments. I've bought 1 million of them. Yeah. And I'm broke. I'm penniless. I'm sitting on all these instruments that I just.
How many guitars do you have in your storage?
60.
Yeah.
That's 60 or so.
Guitars, dude. Holy shit. Is that your retirement fund? Because I know guys that are kind of like our age, and they're like,
no, it is. Absolutely is. I'm not going to be able to get on the stage, and I'll need something to do. So I'll just piddle around, sell this guitar and that one,
Well, that's cool. Do you have any cool or interesting stories behind how you acquired any of your guitars?
When we first started, we played a place called J.J. McCabe's in Boulder. We got a gig there every week. And there was a guy whose name was Scotty, and I don't even know his last name. And he gave me his Strat.
He just gave it to you.
Yeah. And I was just 21 at the time, and I was dumbfounded. I couldn't afford a Strat. And it had a locking tremolo on it. And that's one of the best story I got, really, about any guitar.
That's pretty cool. Use your guitar, man. Tell me favorite musicians you've enjoyed playing with, because I know you've played with a bunch.
Yeah, for sure. Hubert, Sumlin, and David Honeyboy Edwards. I mean, those guys, for sure. That I love Ronnie Baker Brooks too. Like, he's a kind of a brother of mine. He's just a little bit older than me, and he's kind of been my blues mentor. Billy Branch, the great harmonica player, blues harmonica player, Chicago blues. And I was going to mention, while I'm here with those guys too, they were a part of our second edition, which is Willie Dixon. We were celebrating the music of Willie Dixon, and Billy Branch had actually played harmonica with Willie Dixon, which is really cool.
That is pretty cool, yeah.
I encourage people to check out Billy Branch, because he's one of the very first people to plug in, like, to use a mic with a harmonica and an amp. So really important guy.
A guy out west, but I think he's in Arizona. You ever bump into Bob Corritore?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah,
he's got the hair too.
Dude, he was all, he pimped out. He was on the show. And he's all pimped out. He looked great.
Yeah, I love him. He's great.
He is. Oh, this has got to be funny, man. Tell me the craziest experience with a fan you've ever had.
Wow. I guess I'll just really quickly, just because there's been a lot of really fun things that have gone down. I mean, and some that I can't talk about because they were a little bit too fun. But
good for you.
We had started doing these trips that were Caribbean cruises with just our band hosting on a small tall ship. And we had met a person named John Horan, who was at the time doing research and development for NASA. And he was the one who kind of suggested that I write a song for NASA. And that led to this whole relationship of, we got to play that song as a live wake-up song to the shuttle crew, and all kinds of fun things came out of that. So that was like what I would describe as a wild ride from a fan.
Yeah, that is cool. Todd, top 3 Desert Island discs. No particular order, and just for this moment, because obviously that changes.
Gee whiz. Well, the Beatles and the Cube, what? All the Beatles. To me, the Beatles are the top of top. And Led Zeppelin 3, maybe. I'm a big Led Zeppelin guy. I would have a hard time living without that music.
Dude, they are such a fan. I can't stand when people criticize Jimmy Page's guitar playing. The guy was like a genius. He was so experienced by the time he started Zeppelin. He knew exactly what he wanted to do from all those years. The guy was fucking brilliant.
I agree.
100%. How do you criticize this guy?
I ain't one of those guys.
It's like, I don't even understand how that gets in your mind, to be honest with you. It's just a great man.
I will say, of contemporary-ish albums, Jeff Buckley's Grace might be my favorite. That of non-classic rock staple bands, that album is really amazing to me.
It's a pretty album, man. All right, tell me one event, not musical, personal, that took place in your life that if this thing hadn't happened, you wouldn't be the person you are today. And of course, there's probably hundreds of events like that.
Well, the birth of my daughter, for sure. I only have a 6-year-old daughter now, which means I was 51. I thought I escaped catastrophe. And I did not.
Just wait till you're like 62 to 64.
Yeah.
That's when the shit's gonna hit the fan, man.
but just psychologically, the whole thing. I mean, you're a parent. I'm sure everybody's a parent. They know, like, man, that's just chapter 3, or whatever the chapter is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Well, congratulations on that again.
Thank you. I'm in the thick of it. I got a new French bulldog puppy as well. I have 2 dogs and 2 kids and my wife.
That's good, man.
I'm old, a little on the old side for that kind of activity.
Hey, man, I had Al DiMeola on here. He's 66. I think his daughter was 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Most important lessons you've learned from getting older?
I'll tell you, I think this is the most important thing I've learned. Cut people slack. Don't be too quick to judge them. Be accepting of people's shortcomings, I guess, without having to like harp on them. That's maybe the biggest thing for me. That as you get older, you learn how to do that, and then suddenly, I'm succeeding in relationships.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's a magical thing.
Well, I think you have to learn. I think when you get older, it probably becomes easier. I know it has been for me to accept my own shortcomings and much less judgmental on me. And that
absolutely,
allowed me
it all starts there, right?
Yeah, right. And that's allowed me to be like much easier to deal with others. When you're not as tough on yourself.
Yeah.
It's
the same thing. You treat others just like you do yourself. I mean, love is love.
Absolutely, man. Best decision you ever made?
Wow. Yeah, I can't like even process that question. I'm sorry. I can't.
No, it's cool. It's a tough question.
I've had a great life.
Yeah.
And they all go together. I don't think there's a fork in the river of my life. It's been hard, and there's been things I've done that have been wrong and stuff like that. But, it all kind of goes together, and I just don't see a best in it. I'm grateful for my life.
Fair enough, man. This is a tough one. What do you like most about yourself?
I think if I was to say something that I'd be the most proud of myself, and it's not always true, it's being a learner. I think I still love learning, and I still am going to find out, and I think that's it for me.
Yeah, that's important. I don't think I'll ever quote retire and do nothing. I that's when I think I would die, to be honest with you. How can you not do anything? Reading is great, whatever your hobbies are, playing instruments, but I can't. I believe in that too, man. You got to keep learning. It's nourishes you very much, emotionally, spiritually, all that stuff.
Yeah, sooner or later, there's going to be a downhill trend in my life. You know what I mean? My brain is going to go downhill, and my body's going to go downhill.
That,
so my idea now that you and I, I'm 58, so I'm thinking about this a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is get up there as high as you can before they go down. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, I never knew. I always thought when you're at the end, you go because you're sick. But I've met, a lot of older people, and I've talked to people I know whose parents are passing, and their bodies just, this husk we've been given, it just stops freaking working, man. It's not it's not like a Ford or something like that. It doesn't keep going. It's or a Nissan. It just doesn't, it's going to slow down, man. And that's a tough thing to
it's so hard.
Yeah.
It
Who
is.
the hell wants to think of that or envision it or even think of the possibility, you know? It's weird.
I'll tell you a funny story about this just while we're there.
Yeah, please.
Which is that this last year, we'd done a lot of touring and more so than in the past, maybe for a long time. And I kind of got to a point where psychologically I was just at a brick wall and I was falling apart and saying things I didn't mean. And so anyways, I just came to a realization that I needed to take care of my body, which I hadn't done my whole life.
Had not really.
I've always been a, guitar player. Girls like me. I didn't need to hit the gym,
right.
Do my cardio.
I'm shocked because you've always been like slim and fit.
I've been slim and lucky, but not healthy.
Yeah, I get you.
And not strong.
Right.
So I decided that I was going to change that. And so I just did the daily thing, like half hour, 45-minute cardio, and then weights after that. So it takes me about an hour, 5 to an hour and 20 minutes or whatever.
Good.
But I've done it every day since June 28th.
Wow. So that's 6 months. That's
except
quite
for,
a bit.
When I've been sick and stuff. But
yeah.
It's my daily thing. And for the first time, I've never been strong. I'm 50% stronger than I've ever been. And all kinds of my problems that I've had with my back and, from being a guitar player and have gone away. And I think it's part of it. And not only that, but psychologically, like the way I feel about my family and myself and my relationships with my family. And I put it like this: during the time when you're working out, you're loving yourself from the core. You're starting with your brain, and you're dealing with your brain's resistance to helping your body. And somehow I feel loved, and
That's
I feel less desperate for love. I don't know if that makes any sense, but all I'm saying is that one thing, that physical thing, ended up being making a huge difference in my life. And I'm looking forward to keeping it going.
Dude, that's awesome. That's a really good thing.
It is.
Dude, you come here and play Tampa. We'll have a workout in the morning, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I want it.
That's great, man. I bet you if you looked at, I don't know if you've looked at your numbers, your basic things like blood pressure and, basic markers. I bet you they're down quite a bit if you've even looked at that stuff.
I took my blood pressure like 100/80 or something like that. I can't remember.
Nice and low.
Yeah. But
that's great,
I had, I was a borderline diabetes, and, if you don't exercise, so much goes wrong so fast.
So much.
And that's really, and you don't get energy unless you give it. You spend energy. That's how you get energy. That's just such an ironic thing. It just took my whole life to figure that out.
That's great, man. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's very inspiring. That's good. I'm glad you probably feel so much better waking up, but you're probably sleeping better. I can't
tell you. Everything's better.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's good.
So it's unbelievable.
Congrats. That's a really good decision. Tell me, most important thing you learned from your dad. You say your dad was a hairdresser, right?
Yeah, he also was an upholsterer. The thing that he told me, probably that was the most, that always stuck with me is this. Todd, you'd be a genius if you were organized. If you could just be organized. That's what he told me. And he was dead right. So I've always struggled with order and organization. And
that's interesting. How about your mom? Most important thing you learned from her?
She just was the kind of lover, like Jesus loves. She loved everybody the same and fully. And, she just gave that to us. So that's nice, basically what I'd say about her.
Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
I could never have imagined the life that I have. Never.
That's awesome. Favorite place you've traveled? I know you've been all over.
I like the Amalfi Coast
In Italy.
off of Italy, Positano, that area. There's just something about the people and the culture and the food and the environment that I would choose if I had a chance to do it over.
It's a very popular destination now. In fact, they have, it's one of like, I don't watch, I'm not on social media a lot, but I saw on Instagram, it's one of the top Instagram places. Is
it really?
Cool. Yeah. Toughest decision you had to make or most difficult thing you had to do?
Yeah, divorce.
Yeah.
No question about it.
You know, I've had a few guys on the show. So I had Simon Phillips on the show, and the drummer, and he said, he goes, I think I asked him that question. He goes, 3 divorces.
Yeah.
Nothing more needs to be said.
No doubt.
Last question, man. And thank you so much. I was so stoked to get you on this show because I've really enjoyed your music for so long. So thank you for all you've done for me and for everybody else out there musically, you and the rest.
It's an honor. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and has that change been intentional or more of a natural part of aging?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. It's accepting flaws.
Accepting flaws, yeah. Cool. Was that natural, or did you work at that?
Yeah. I just had to really see myself like that part of myself, because I can be very judgmental. And when you're an artist, it's a problem because excuse me, I gotta wipe my nose here.
No, go ahead. Everybody's got it.
Because your life is being judgmental, or is evaluating, the artistic value of something. So our brains are too much. We expect too much perfection and don't see the beauty in what really, what's real. I became too, I think I've been, idealism has been a problem for me in relationships.
So let me ask you this. That's a big aha moment. What was if you're comfortable, what was the trigger that made you say, I need to like really look into this? Because that's a pretty huge thing.
I think I just got tired of losing my temper. I just got tired of feeling hurt. And I think I realized that, it's not out there. The problem is this way, fella. And, that's an easy thing to say, but like you were saying, like, you accept your own flaws. You can even seeing your own flaws is a big achievement. Probably none of us fully see our own flaws, but accepting yourself, and the flaws about, I mean, you're halfway to solving all the world's problems if you could do that.
Well, you're a lot happier, that's for sure. Hey, man, I want to thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. I want to tell people also one more time about what you guys have going on musically. New releases in June, the album titled TBD, To Be Determined Soon.
That's it.
Please go to bigheadtodd.com and check out the band. The new single is called Crush. It's on Spotify and iTunes. The band's going to be dripping out singles leading up to the release of the album. And the upcoming single, or one that's just come out, I think it's called Her Way Out. Will you be touring this year? I mean, I'm sure you are touring.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to be at Red Rocks this year with the Wallflowers.
Oh, cool.
I think it's June 9th. I can't recall the exact day, but it's right around there. And then I think we're going to be doing some tours on the East Coast and the South with Blues Traveler later in the summer.
With Blues Traveler?
Did that. Yeah, we did that last summer.
Oh, that's so cool.
For a spell.
That's a really good pairing.
It has been. It's been fun for all of us, but audiences really like it because we kind of emerged around the same time. So,
yeah.
And they're really jammy and we're less jammy. So I think it's pretty complimentary. show.
That is awesome. I had Chan on the show a long time ago.
Yeah,
Funny
he's
guy.
great.
Yeah, he really is. Are you coming down here to Florida any chance?
I hope so. I haven't seen a Florida date yet, and it's
a
been a
tough
couple
place
years.
to tour.
People are really upset about it because we love going to Florida. So we got to make that happen, and we will.
Dude, awesome. Hey, hang on a second. Any final words of wisdom or anything else you want to promote or say or anything?
You've given me a great chance to say a lot of stuff. I appreciate you, Craig. Thank you.
Thank
kindly.
you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody, thanks so much to listening. If you enjoyed the show, pass it around on your socials. Thanks very much to Todd Park Mohr for everything, for being so open and candid and cool on the show, and for 30 years of awesome music. Dude, you are so prolific. I mean, awesome. I mean,
That's really
phenomenal.
sweet. Thanks.
Oh, it's
Appreciate it.
phenomenal. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Thank you so much, brother.